Budget week in Canberra is usually a dry affair, a time when government policy should trump politics. But no week is typical in this parliament. High finance had to fight for space with low scandal. And that cast a pall over good news on the jobless rate and the passage of the school kids bonus through the Senate. But the grief didn't flow one way, as 7:30 revealed last night. Infighting in the Victorian division of the Liberal Party is spilling into Parliament. Shortly I'll discuss that and the opposition leader's budget reply with former Howard Government Minister Peter Reith. But first, this report from Heather Hewitt.
I believe I'm entitled, like any other person, to have the presumption of innocence.
The standing of the Parliament and politicians has never been lower in the eyes of the Australian public.
Member for Dobell has been given as much indulgence as I can.
There's never been a budget week quite like it. On the eve of the budget's delivery, Fair Work Australia's damning report on the Health Services Union and exiled Labor MP Craig Thomson is released. In just 3 parliamentary sitting days, the Speaker, Peter Slipper, hands over to his deputy. Craig Thomson goes to the crossbenches.
That this House calls on the Prime Minister.
The government's surplus budget is overshadowed by opposition attempts to make his position untenable. And possible government defeat on the floor of the House is averted when the member for Dobell agrees to make a statement to the Parliament when it meets again. The independents remain uncertain about what happens next.
Well, let's see what the statement says. I spent about an hour with Craig Thomson yesterday. I wanted to let him know that I was shocked by the Fair Work Australia report.
Pardon the French, but bugger the numbers. You know, we've got to deal with what's in front of us, and what's in front of us is a comprehensive, damning report.
I'm not concerned about them dropping support for the government. They are committed and very happy with the outcome in the budget, particularly so far as regional Australia is concerned, and delivering on the agreement that was entered into.
Of course, in these days of minority government, you can never be too sure of anything, and the independents are giving mixed signals.
If we deal with it in the right way, I think the numbers will look after themselves. But if we don't do that, we've got a problem, because a big part of parliamentary democracy, as you know, is public trust and public confidence.
Absolutely.
This does not help that at all.
If people are thinking that this is about the Parliament moving against a member where there's been absolutely no charges made against him to throw him out of the building, I don't think I could support that sort of pathway. I think the precedent that would set would be much more dangerous than what some people are suggesting.
And do you hold that position no matter what he ends up saying to the Parliament?
Well, I don't want to get too far in front of the horse on this because I don't know what he'll say.
Clearly, what he does say to the Parliament will be crucial when it resumes the week after next. And in the meantime, the government can't seem to escape the scandal. Today it was on the defensive over the New South Wales Labor branch funding Craig Thomson's legal fees, amid claims that he hadn't disclosed this in the pecuniary interest register to the Parliament as required, belatedly amending it last night.
Members of Parliament should be declaring appropriately things on time, not waiting and declaring late.
The opposition argues the handout on legal fees is so Craig Thomson can avoid bankruptcy, which would disqualify him from the Parliament. During question time this afternoon, it was trying to embroil the Prime Minister by quizzing her over her conversation with Craig Thomson almost 2 weeks ago when she suspended him from the Labor caucus.
Is it the case that the issue of the payment of the member for Dobell's legal fees was raised with her by the member for Dobell in that conversation on April 28th?
No, it was not.
The answers the Prime Minister gave in question time today could only be described as evasive and tricky.
All of this on a day when the government had some good news. Unemployment for last month unexpectedly fell to a 1-year low, and the schools bonus package passed in the Parliament. A day when the government also tried to make some political mileage out of our report last night that Peter Costello was claimed to have canvassed a comeback with his now estranged old friend Michael Kroger.
I do welcome a question from the Leader of the Opposition on the budget and on economics, because we so rarely see them, causing, as we found out last night, members of the Liberal Party to yearn for a return of Peter Costello.
Not quite. Many members were aghast at the airing of the dirty linen in the Victorian branch of the Liberal Party and the bitter backbiting over pre-selections and Senate tickets. One of Peter Costello's closest supporters in the past moved to back his denials of any plan to return to politics.
I wish he'd never left Parliament, but he has left Parliament, and I'm absolutely certain he won't be coming back.
But that doesn't mean the power struggles in the Victorian branch are about to stop. And the latest centres on the marginal Labor-held seat of Corangamite. Liberal pre-selection is scheduled for next month, and Tony Abbott and former Foreign Affairs Minister Alexander Downer are strongly backing former ABC News presenter Sarah Henderson, who ran a close race at the last election. But federal MPs, who are Peter Costello's closest allies and former staffers, wanted businessman Rod Nockels in the seat. It has the potential to get ugly. None of those involved were available for public comment tonight, instead wanting to give Tony Abbott clear air for his budget reply speech in the Parliament.
Madam Deputy Speaker, from an economic perspective, the worst aspect of this year's budget is that there is no plan for economic growth. Nothing whatsoever to promote investment or employment. Without a growing economy, everything a government does is basically robbing Peter to pay Paul.
Political editor Heather